Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School. We break down the most urgent conversations, the most important topics, the most intense debates going on in the world today. Tonight is no different. We've got a packed show for you tonight. So many things to talk about. And I'm excited to be here with you. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. And I'm so grateful for all the notes of love and support, all the people who've reached out asking if I'm okay, if the family's okay, and to just send love and prayers and such. And so I'm grateful for all of it, man. It's so much going on. And of course, we're 7 days away from the presidential elections here in the United States. So it's intense. It's complicated. People are fighting. People are debating. And all the normal messiness of the political cycle, the arguments, the pettiness, the way that we're kind of funneled toward the Democrats and Republicans at the expense of radical alternatives, all of it is kind of happening like normal, but happening like times 10. So we're seeing so much of the same stuff. And while we're seeing that, that's right, Amos, while we're seeing that, we're also seeing just so much death, so much pain, so much violence. It's a bit of a struggle to stay sane against the backdrop of all this. And I'm gonna say it, man. And maybe I shouldn't say it because this is my job, but I cannot wait for this damn election to be over. I cannot wait until we are no longer talking to and about the 2024 election. I'll be very excited when that's no longer a thing. Anyway, so much to talk about. Let's get right to it because it's late and I'm old. CNN. Now, as you know, I'm no fan of CNN. CNN be doing some wild stuff, but it got wilder last night. CNN has banned a conservative commentator after a racist attack on Mehdi Hasan occurred live on air. That's right. Ryan James Girdusky. He got into a heated exchange with Mehdi Hasan as the panel was discussing the election and Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. And instead of just having a regular civil debate, the conversation took a troublesome turn when the conservative guest seemed to be wishing harm to Mehdi Hasan. Look at what he said. Look at this. This is wild.
Want to be called Nazis? Stop doing.
You're called an
anti-Semite
more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die?
You should not.
No,
Did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on.
Did your guest just say I
No, I
should be
didn't.
killed on live TV?
I said I hope
Guys,
you're.
let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big
Stop that right
supporter
now.
Of the Palestinians.
Guys,
Hamas.
Guys, let
I
me
said
stop.
Palestinians.
Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
Palestinians
supporting
are
Hamas.
not.
I
Are
apologize.
you a
Ryan.
racist, violent person inciting violence against me?
Ryan,
That's
that is
disgusting.
completely.
No, I apologize.
Good
That
job,
is
CNN. Let's
completely
have first
out
block
of
say the
pocket.
Muslim guy
You
should
know
be
that.
blown
No, I
up.
apologize.
On
I
TV.
apologize.
Don't say then. I
Wow.
apologize. You literally.
I thought you said
accused
Hamas.
him.
I
You didn't think I said
No.
Hamas.
Yes,
I
you
said
did.
I support
Yes, I did.
Palestinian
Yes, I
rights.
did.
Why? Because when you hear
What's funny
Palestinian,
is
you hear
Rudy
Hamas.
Giuliani said this
No,
yesterday,
because-
so you're a great guest to
Listen.
be here
All
to
right,
defend
I
Rudy
told
Giuliani.
myself-
Wow. And shout out to Abby for trying to rein this in and try and make this less weird, less disgusting, less offensive, less racist. Abby did the best she could against the backdrop of some real craziness. I'm gonna play this again because this was an all too familiar game that we usually see on mainstream media. It's just the guests weren't having it. First of all, they're having a back and forth, and all Mehdi says is, I am a supporter of Palestinian rights. He then says, well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. Of course, alluding to, we saw this in Lebanon, these beepers that became explosives that caused great harm to Lebanese brothers and sisters, Arab brothers and sisters. And, you know, the idea that the Mossad, it's the Mossad who could plant explosives inside of beepers with the idea of killing Hezbollah, but maybe killing a lot of other innocent people is disturbing. But so many people in the West didn't care. It's like if it's Arabs, if it's Muslims, if it's brown people, it doesn't matter anymore. And it becomes a kind of dangerous, cruel indifference. So that's the backdrop to dude saying, well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. He said, I support Palestinians. I'm used to it. I'm used to being called names, particularly anti-Semite. And the guy says that, but he doesn't just do that. Watch what happens. I'm gonna play it again. Watch this. Just this part.
Say I should be killed.
No, I did not say that. I said anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people
By
sit there
you.
and no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I don't.
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is
Did
that
you just say I should
wow.
die?
You should not.
No, I
Did
said,
you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. I
CNN.
said, no, I did not say.
Now, one of the things I love about Mehdi is that he doesn't let things rock. He's like, wait a minute. You just said I should be killed. He's not letting him go. He didn't let it go as a host. He's definitely not letting it go as a guest. And the guy immediately goes from saying some racist shit to being the victim. Oh, no, I didn't say. Oh, no, I never said. Relax, dude. You just said, we all heard you. And I appreciate our sister here who said, I can't believe you just said some racist stuff here. The sister here with the Vote Today Philly shirt on, right? She's a CNN contributor. April, I can't think of her last name.
No, I
Did
said,
you just say I
no,
should be killed?
No, I did not say that. I
CNN.
said, no, I did not say that.
Hold on, hold on.
Did your guest just
Let
say
me-
I
No,
should
I
be
didn't.
killed?
Let me- hold
On
on.
live TV.
I said, I hope
Guys,
you're.
let me just stop.
You said you
let
hope
me,
my beeper
doesn't
doesn't
go
go
Because
off.
you said I'm a
Stop
big
that right
supporter
now.
Of the
of
Palestinians.
Hamas.
Guys,
I
let me
said
just
Palestinians.
Are you? a supporter
Am I
of
what?
Hamas?
No, of course I'm not.
Palestinians
supporting
are
Hamas.
not-
Then I
Are
apologize.
you a
Then I
racist, violent
apologize.
person
Then I
inciting
apologize.
violence against me?
Ryan,
That's
that is
disgusting.
completely.
Then I apologize.
Good
That
job,
is
CNN.
completely.
So another thing happens here. The guy changes the game up and says, well, are you a supporter of Hamas? Now Mehdi says, of course not. And the guy says, well, then I apologize. So he puts Mehdi on the defensive, makes it seem as if Mehdi may have done something objectionable, i.e. support Hamas, and then say, well, since you're not, then I apologize, which is what Abby Phillip picked up on. So even the line of questioning makes it seem like now his actions were defensible and reasonable. I was just making sure you weren't part of Hamas. Mehdi never said he was part of Hamas. He never said he supported Hamas. But also this kind of way that now the question isn't, did you say something racist to Mehdi, but rather, do you support Hamas? So once again, Arabs, South Asians, Muslims get put on the defensive and are forced to explain what their affiliations are, who they are. And Mehdi saying, well, of course not, to me, is a little bit of an unnecessary jab at Hamas. It oversimplifies who and what they are. But it also normalizes the idea that you can say racist, fucked up things to people and then just throw them on the defensive all of a sudden as your get out of jail free card. And he was hoping, of course, that Mehdi would say, oh, yeah, I am a supporter of Hamas. So then he could be justified in his preemptive racism. This is really disturbing. But the gaslighting doesn't end there. It never does. Watch this.
So first block, say the Muslim guy should be blown
Then I
up.
apologize.
on
Then I
TV.
apologize.
Don't
Then I
say
apologize.
then I
Wow.
apologize. You literally.
say
I
it.
thought you said
Accused
Hamas.
him.
I
You didn't think I
apologize.
said
No,
Hamas.
Yes,
I
I
said
did.
I supported
Yes, I did.
Palestinian
Yes, I
rights.
did.
I thought he said Hamas. Two things. He didn't say that. He doesn't think he said that. And Mehdi calls us out. Like, don't be a sucker on top of all of this. Like, if you're going to actually be racist and go that hard, then just stand 10 toes on it. Oh, I only said that because I thought he said Hamas. What part of I support Palestinian reparations sounds like? I'm talking about sounds like. I'm not talking about politically. I am a supporter of Palestinian rights. And what he heard was, I support Hamas. You did not think that. You're literally lying. There's somebody in a relationship with this man, or will be, who is going to want to hurl themselves off the couch every day because he is going to say some fucked up shit, do some fucked up shit, and then twist it around and make it seem like you're the one who said or did the fucked up shit. He is gaslighter in chief right now. So it gets a little more interesting to me than just the fact that this racist thing happened, although that's important enough. After the segment's over, 'cause this was like a whole thing for the show, for the evening. After the show, or after the segment, commercial comes back, the guest, Ryan Girdusky, was not back on set with the rest of them. And CNN announced that he's no longer welcome at CNN. Abby Phillip condemned the comments, and she apologized to Mehdi. And CNN then later issued a statement. The statement said, "There is zero room for racism or bigotry at CNN or in our air. We aim to foster thoughtful conversations and debate, including between people who profoundly disagree with each other, in order to explore important issues and promote mutual understanding." So CNN was like, we don't need this heat. We don't need this smoke. And also pay attention to the fact that this kind of action is the kind of thing that Republicans feed off of, because now they're going to say, "Oh, these liberals are too soft. That's why we need to go vote for Trump," right? So even when they're the ones being attacked or criticized for their actions and held accountable a little bit, it just becomes more fodder for their cult-like movement. So pay very careful attention to what's happening and see why it's happening. It's super interesting. Van Lathan dropped in. Thank you, my brother. We love you, man. Appreciate you. Ryan, stop talking. Yo, that's it. That's it. He should have said, "You know what? I made a joke, or I made a comment. I went too far. I messed up. I'm sorry." But no, he has to do the whole mental games, the whole gymnastics, all the BS to really humiliate. I mean, really humiliate Mehdi even further. And so all day, people aren't talking about Mehdi's brilliant analysis. They're out here talking about this awful, and I do mean awful, thing that that Mehdi had to go through. And I'm sorry that he had to go through that. All right, y'all. Let's move on to a different story, a new story. We're going to the Middle East because Israel is at it again. Today, Israeli parliament voted to ban the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, also known as UNRWA, from the country. And when I say the country, I mean the entire apartheid state. That means that UNRWA will no longer be allowed to provide a lifeline in occupied Palestinian territory, basically in the West Bank, in Gaza, in East Jerusalem. All of this is happening, and not only will it increase the suffering of Palestinians, especially in the occupied territories, the ban will essentially collapse any efforts that could potentially save lives. This is problematic. I want to show you this map just so you get, again, a reminder or a sense of this is what genocide looks like. This is what genocide looks like. If any of you are still questioning if this is a genocide, look right here. Israel has dropped almost 80 tons of explosives. 80 tons of explosives. Do you know what that means? That means that Israel has dropped 36 kilograms of explosives on Gaza for every man, every woman, and every child. And when you look at this graphic that I'm showing you, you'll see that every red dot represents a bombed location in Gaza. And this is just from July, so you know this thing can get much, much worse. Anyway, it's important to note that UNRWA confirmed Israel has killed over 200 of its workers. 200 UNRWA workers have been killed. All of them were in marked vehicles. They weren't riding low. They were in UNRWA vehicles, United Nations vehicles. They were easily identifiable as UNRWA. And you could argue, one should argue that this is a violation of international law. Now, the action itself is being condemned all over the world: Ireland, Norway, Slovenia, Spain, Australia, Jordan, China, Russia too. All of them. Even when people don't get along, they get along on this because it's wrong. But the U.S., of course, has said nothing after recently warning Israel to increase aid within 30 days or possibly lose weapons funding. So the United States is finally stepping in with a little bit of pressure and saying, look, stop violating human rights or we're going to give you money. And what does Israel do? They banned UNRWA. Now, under Donald Trump, the United Nations Relief Works Agency was also banned, or I don't know if it was banned, but actually it wasn't banned, but Trump defunded it. If you don't understand UNRWA, UNRWA is not just a favor. This isn't like the Salvation Army or something, or the YMCA at your house in your neighborhood. This is the fundamental organ for Palestinian people. After the occupation, or even before the 1967 occupation, just you could go back all the way to the UN High Court of Refugees, where suddenly there's a way of saying, hey, we need a unique solution to a unique problem. And the United Nations Relief Works Agency becomes the vehicle for dealing with Palestinian refugees, not the UN High Court for Refugees, although that matters. But in the case of Palestine, UNRWA deals with the question of refugees. Why is this important? Well, because Palestinians are all refugees in a certain kind of way, but in a very practical way, Palestinians are absolutely refugees in the West Bank, absolutely refugees in Gaza, absolutely refugees in Golan, Sinai, etc. So this is an important thing to think about when you cut all of the funding for refugees. You're not cutting just a few people here, a few people there. You're basically cutting out the lifeline for Palestinians in that region. And it's not one thing. Most of the schools that you see in Gaza right now, even the ones that are getting blown up, actually most of them are getting blown up, all of it is what? UNRWA schools. UNRWA provides schooling, healthcare, housing, all the things. And they're trying to say, well, UNRWA is filled with terrorists and they don't deserve anything. So we have to be able, we have to be willing, we have to be committed, in fact, to fighting this idea that UNRWA is the problem. After the International Criminal Court decision, this random dossier with a bunch of unsubstantiated information emerged that basically suggested that UNRWA was just a big front. That they were responsible for October 7th. I mean, they went down the list of just ridiculous conspiracy theories, but at the end of the day, we know that that's not true. And the most urgent thing, of course, is this map. If you're talking about Palestine, you need to look at this map and say, wow, where haven't people been affected? Where haven't people been bombed? Where haven't people been hurt? That's something we have to think about, something we talk about. And we'll continue to talk about it, y'all. Stay with me. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 40 seconds, and we'll talk about some things happening in the world of pop culture. Stay here. Back to night school. We got so much more to talk about. I can't wait to talk about it with you all. An announcement came, a very interesting announcement. It came a few weeks ago, but we didn't get to it because it wasn't the biggest story, but it is becoming interesting because of the pushback. I'll tell you about it in 1 second, but if you're joining us, jump in the chat and let us know where you're from. And don't forget to hit all the buttons. Subscribe to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Also like this video. You can also share it on social media and ask more people to join night school because the night school classroom is where it's popping at. And please head over to Instagram and make sure you follow at Night School MLH. The link is posted in the description of this video to take you directly to that page. All right, y'all. Australia has rejected Candace Owens' her visa, her actual travel documents. She had a speaking tour plan, and suddenly that's all in jeopardy because Australia said you have too controversial a record. Now, this is fascinating. Candace Owens doesn't have a criminal record. She doesn't have any history of violence, any history of harming anybody, but she has a controversial history. According to Australia's immigration minister, from downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about notorious Nazi Dr. Joseph Mengele, through to claims that Muslims started slavery. Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction. I'm going to read that again. Australia's immigration member issued this statement about Candace Owens' rejection into the country. He said, from downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about Joseph Mengele, who's a notorious Nazi doctor, through her claims that Muslims started slavery, Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in every direction. He also added, Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. Now, they're not the only people mad at Candace. Her tour has been opposed by some local Australia Jewish groups, including the federal anti-Semitism envoy. So, I happen to believe that many of the things that Candace Owens has said, especially in the last 3 or 4 months, are not anti-Semitic. They're just deep, substantive critiques of Israel. But if they have a deeper history and some other stuff, I don't know anything about it one way or the other. But this is interesting because I'm watching the right get outraged again. I'm hearing them say, well, why can this happen? This is unfair. This is a violation of free speech. Well, no, free speech always is complicated. It's always nuanced. But in this case, it's also domestic. Like, you're not entitled to free speech in other people's country. You're entitled to free speech in this country, which happens to promote free speech, which, of course, I love. At the end of the day, before I make it too messy and confusing, Candace Owens does not have a right to free speech in Australia. Australia has to think about its national security interests. Now, you can agree or disagree with how dangerous Candace is for Australia, but what you cannot do, is tell Australia that because America believes in free speech, and Australia does too, right? But because America believes in free speech and has these free speech rules, etc., that they have to be allowed in another country. They have to actually think about their national interests. And I can see somebody saying, hey, if you incite violence, if you worry people, if you just take normal, innocent people and have them thinking about the world in ways that lead them down a harmful road, all these are reasons to say, no. Australia said, look, it's not in our national security interest. What are you going to say? Violate your national security interest to let Candace Owens in? So the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're going to see more of this. Sometimes it'll be stopping the anti-Semite from coming in, but sometimes it's going to be stopping the pro-Palestinian protester or voice from coming in. Sometimes it's going to be someone who's anti-occupation or anti-whatever. I don't love the idea of countries not letting people in because I think it's a slippery slope, but I also don't want us to start acting like every country needs to let us in for all reasons. I mean, on some level, I believe that because I don't believe in the borders that we appeal to as a nation state. But in the way that they mean it, I'm okay with this. Again, I'm okay with this. I think our words may be misunderstood sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm okay with this. There's a lot of discord that can happen, and we've seen so much of it in this country, so much division, so much bitterness. I would hate to export more of that. We damn sure have exported it, but I'd hate to export more of that. All right, y'all. We'll take another quick break. We'll be right back, 40 seconds, and we're going to talk about welcome back to Night School. Shout out to the people who have been holding me down. Again, Van Lathan, my dear brother, dropped in $50. We also got Robin Walker Murphy, who gifted 10 MLH memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Meg62 dropped something in for the Tuition Hustle Pie Chip Vitamin Fund. I need all of them. And Wanker Tanker, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so much going on, so many opinions. All right, let's get back to it. Because a controversial comedian known for racist jokes was the special guest of Donald Trump's Nazi rally, which was inside of Madison Square Garden on Sunday. And now, at a moment where Trump's trying to make himself more mainstream and more normal and more cool and less racist, kind of having a racist joke told by a racist person and a racist rally organized by your team could look crazy. So anyway, The comedians are roasting him now. Tony Hinchcliffe out the gate called, quote, Puerto Rico a flaming island of garbage. He also attacked migrants, black people, Jews, and said some of the most vile things about Latinos. It gets bad. Check out this little montage I put together.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
I'm gonna let you hear so you can get his sense of his
Believe it
vibe.
or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
Wow. Wow.
It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Believe it or not, people, I welcome.
So that's the shtick. Everybody's been outraged about it all day, among other things. There's so many things outrageous going on, but this wasn't the only thing, by the way, that was said that was horrible at Trump's rally. Each person seemed like they were trying to outdo each other for being more racist and repulsive than the person before him. Puerto Rican Bad Bunny, he's a rapper, Puerto Rican rapper, was over $40 million on Instagram, quickly used his platform to let everybody know that he supports Kamala Harris. It's kind of a response to the racism at the rally. Jennifer Lopez, Ricky Martin, Mark Anthony, and Ariana Grande also announced their support for Harris. Republican politicians in Florida even condemned the joke, defending their Puerto Rican voters. It's not that they care about Puerto Ricans necessarily. They could, but we know that there's a Puerto Rican vote there that's very, very essential. I think 1 out of 5, maybe. It's some crazy number of Puerto Ricans in Florida. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. These Trump rallies are becoming more and more baldly, nakedly racist. And it's like, I don't think it's that they're slipping. I don't think it's that they're making a mistake. I don't think it's just, I think they know that the more racist they are, the more their base will come out. And the more outraged the left is by their antics, the more their stuff gets energized. So it's an old school Karl Rove playbook. But anyway, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. All right. We got more to cover. So let's just get to it. And I don't know sort of how to think about this next story. It's like I know how to deal with it, but I need y'all to see it. And let me see. I apologize for this. I'm not stalling. I'm just trying to load something at the same time. Anyway, let's get to the story. Even though the Trump camp is trying to distance itself from the comments, it's a little difficult to do when the entire rally, as I said, was race baiting and fear mongering from people who are political voices. This isn't some guy in a cheap seat. This is Stephen Miller, an actual advisor. Here's what he had to say at the rally. And again, this is not a Nazi rally. I don't care how many times they tell you, it is not a Nazi rally. It just looks and smells and acts like one. Check this out.
Welcome migrants to the United States. Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
Wow. I have no comment on that except to say these rallies get more and more blatantly racist, more and more frustrating for people who aren't racist, and more disgusting. And the idea that he's still in a competitive race for the presidency, while ordaining, authorizing these kinds of rallies says a lot about the kind of person that wants to be a Trump supporter and what their values are, what they think. These are people in this stadium who you see every day. Some people at your job are in this stadium. People who ride the elevator with you are in this stadium. Your Uber drivers, your taxi. I mean, all throughout your world, there are people just like Trump and people just like the people in that room who find that kind of stuff funny. Now, what's interesting is the joke itself did not land well. The joke itself didn't land well, from what I can see. Not because the audience was so progressive or thoughtful. It's just, they know what it looks like, and they know that it's not going to help them win their case or make their case to America that Trump is next. Anyway, we could talk about it. We could talk about it later. But for now, because I know my own self, I'm going to jump to the last story. There's a couple more stories I wanted to get to, but I know myself and I know how tired I am. And I know that I need to be better to my body. So I'm going to take a quick break, come back and do one last story. We're going to talk about D. Wade and that damn statue. What is happening? Back to night school, man. We got so much to catch up on. We got so much to talk about. I want to talk about one more story before I get to this D. Wade story, which again is an amazing story. It's funny, it's weird, it's wild. I want to talk about your boy Elon Musk. It's another cat that I just need to talk about and talk to a little bit more often because dude be wilding. Anyway, we're about a week away from election day. In fact, we are literally 7 days from election day. And Larry Krasner, the Philadelphia district attorney, is going after Elon Musk. He's going after Elon Musk. This week, Krasner filed a lawsuit against Musk's America PAC to stop his $1 million sweepstakes that's going on in Pennsylvania, which, of course, is the swing state where I'm from. Krasner is, let's just say, I don't know what's legal and what's not, but it smells bad. That's all I could. That's all I can tell you. Krasner is seeking an injunction against Musk's illegal lottery scheme. Krasner's office issued a statement that reads in part, in connection with their scheme, they are deploying deceptive, vague, or misleading statements that create a likelihood of confusion or misunderstanding. Thank you. Krasner emphasized there is no federal jurisdiction over the dispute, but it's kind of for Pennsylvania to interpret its own laws. And this was the first lawsuit filed against Musk's PAC. And if you remember correctly, last week, the DOJ warned Musk that they may be breaking the law. And he ignored that warning and keeps buying votes. He's literally writing people checks so that people will vote for Trump. That is as crazy as it just doesn't sound, it doesn't even sound real. Right? It sounds like some evil billionaire in some movie or some cartoon that's like paying people off and no one can stop him. Like Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price kind of shit. Anyway, let's get to this last story. And this is a story that I don't take any pride in celebrating or talking about, or highlighting, I should say. And that is the conversation about D. Wade. D. Wade, Dwyane Wade, if you don't know, is a former point guard or shooting guard, really, for the Miami Heat. He is an elite player, maybe the second, third, fourth best at his position ever. And he's somebody who Miami loves to death. He is the mayor of Miami, it seems like. Maybe that's why he's taking the high road after this statue. This statue. I want y'all to make sure y'all are looking at this statue. Lord. This is supposed to be Dwyane Wade. I mean, the man earned a statue. 21 years ago, last month, he started his season with them. He won 3 championships. He was a 13-time All-Star. And the idea was, because of all those accomplishments, the statue was supposed to capture him at his best. And the best, of course, was him doing the "It's my house" or "This is my house" moment after hitting the game-winning three-pointer against the Bulls. That was 2009, I believe. Anyway, this statue was designed by Timeless Creations, Omri Amrani, and Oscar Leon. D. Wade's trying his best to be a good sport. He stood up there and said, "Look, I love it. I'm too excited about the honor. I'm too proud of the honor to focus on the statue itself." Later on, when he got sat down, he said it's creative. Like, basically said it's supposed to be me, but it's a little more abstract. He's saying all the right things. And I don't know if he's saying it to save face for the league or because they're asking him to. I don't know why, but I do know Dwyane Wade deserves all the accolades, all the love, all the admiration. He also deserves a better statue than this. I'm sorry, this does not look like Dwyane Wade. If you had stuck this in front of me and said that, who is this? I could name 50 people before I got to Dwyane Wade. I mean, Jesus, this is bad. So why would you do that? I think white people just don't know what black people look alike. I think they literally can't tell black people apart. That's my theory. I could be wrong, but I suspect that's what happened. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching Night School. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all as always. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Of course, make sure you hit the join button so you can become a monthly paid subscriber of the channel. What else? I got to tell you, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Even when you can't do a monthly commitment, maybe you can do a one-time commitment. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. Hit me on one of these platforms. If you drop $1, we're grateful. $1 million, we're grateful. Anything in the middle, we're super grateful for. But if everybody watching right now, if everybody watching the show right now were to drop $10 or $5, excuse me, if everybody here were to pay $5, we'd be able to meet our financial goals for the month. So just consider it. All right, family. I will see you later. We'll talk soon. Peace.